Hello, G fans, for the 18th episode. I can't believe I'm actually almost close to the full 30. But for the 18th episode of Godzilla Dissection, I am doing King Kong vs. Godzilla. Yes, the 1962 film that I think to this day inspires a lot of debate between whether it was awful or one of the best. And I've heard a lot of arguments on both sides. Uh, I'm pretty sure everyone, I don't say everyone, but I think in the whole kaiju fandom, movie fandom in general, I think everyone is aware of this film's existence. And of course, the idea sounds great, two great movie monsters coming together, and it just seems awesome, but the execution is not what you would think. The movie does a lot of things, and yeah, it's not really. It's about the showdown, but it's also not about the showdown, and that's the main point I'm going to be making while I'm discussing this movie. Now, just to fill you in some of the basic information, this movie had all four of the godfathers of Godzilla. I'm talking Ishiro Honda, Tomoyuki Tanaka, Eiji Tsuburaya, and Akira Ifukube, and five if you want to include Haruo Nakajima playing as Godzilla. Just an interesting fact, Mr. Hirose, who plays King Kong in this movie, would go on to play King Ghidorah in Ghidorah, the Three-Headed Monster, and Invasion of Astro Monster. With that being said, for anybody who watches the film and gets confused about certain things, yes, long before this is King Kong vs. Godzilla, the movie was meant to be Godzilla vs. Frankenstein. And that's why he has certain attributes like getting power from lightning. And I forget exactly how it happened. I probably need to read up on some more, but some way King Kong was written into the movie instead. And there you have it. But not too much. Some things were added, obviously, like the whole island thing and Kong's attraction to women. However, the core things they say, like the lightning ability, which is so random. Anybody doesn't know if this would happen again, and I think it's 1966, so 4 years later with Godzilla vs. Ebra. That would happen again, except that time Godzilla himself will be replacing King Kong. But I'm not here to review Godzilla vs. Monster, we're talking about King Kong vs. Godzilla. So now we already know some of the problems with the movie that originally was a role not even meant for King Kong, but let's delve down into it. The cast to me is great. We do have some great Toho actors in here, and that's a blessing. If Kenji Sahara, Mi Hama, who would be a lot of others, Jun Tazaki, Akiko Wakabayashi, Akihiko Hirata, just a lot of the Toho veterans, and it's great to see them here. The characters are lively, and we have some fun comedic moments with them, which is pretty much the whole focus of the film in a sense. And when I say this, it's because compared to the Godzilla Raids Again and the original Godzilla movie, and the movie that came after this, Mothra vs. Godzilla, this movie is a lot more humorous, not only in its monster action, but also through its human characters, which to me is kind of the whole point of the movie. It's not a super serious, gritty film like Mothra vs. Godzilla with, strong moral messages. In fact, I wrote my review on IMDb. To me, the Japanese version plays out like a satirical comedy of the Japanese business industry, which is very interesting satire on how, effective capitalism on things, I suppose, because that's, when you watch the Japanese version especially, there's so much humor involving the main boss, the CEO of the drug company, no more Godzilla, for those who are so familiar with the dub. But yeah, there's a lot of things, about his greed, his endless way to try and profit off King Kong, even when things are going to hell. And that's a lot of the plot involves around stuff like that. I mean, the whole expedition to go get Kong is because the drug company wants to take advantage of some berries there they say are special, for the drug company. They could probably make some profit off of that. And King Kong himself they try to make him to the mascot of the company, but that all goes to hell. And yeah, so the movie itself is not supposed to be very seriously toned, which is so different, because even Godzilla Raids Again, even though it had that same atmosphere as the original Godzilla movie, it definitely was still trying to keep it serious. You know, there was very little. I don't think there was any comedy at all, really, in Godzilla Raids Again, except for sparse moments. And that's what King Kong vs. Godzilla is all about, pretty much. Human characters themselves are not even tossed into danger that often, really. They mostly just watch what's going on, and they devise a few plans to try and help the situation. Uh, so that's how I feel about the human characters in the movie, and the whole human element to me. It's meant to be kind of just a satire on Japanese business and how the big companies work. And you could definitely see that, a lot of that, and like I said, a lot of the characters. And that kind of carries over to the monster fighting because, unlike other than the obvious camera speed fuck ups in Godzilla Raids Again, for the most part, that fight was a very serious, animalistic fight. What we get in King Kong vs. Godzilla is a fight that has some good moments, but overall, it's, like I said, not what you would expect for a movie like this. Well, at least when you first hear the name King Kong vs. Godzilla, and you look around, you type that in Google or Yahoo, whatever you use, and you'll see images like 2014 Godzilla or 2004 Godzilla, and of course Peter Jackson's King Kong about to go at it, and it looks like some kind of brutal fight. The fight in here is nothing like that, and but like I said, like a lot of things in the movie, it's simply fun. It's not realistic, it's not super intense, it's just fun, and that's, I guess, what they were aiming to go for with the movie. To speak on the plot, if I didn't go over it already, the basic plot is that Godzilla once again returns and heads for Japan, starts wreaking havoc, while at the same time, the Japanese pharmaceutical company goes to Faroe Island, it's called, to get the berries / King Kong. They capture King Kong just like in the original film. They bring him back, but on the course of Japan, he breaks free. So then King Kong is rampaging across Japan. King Kong and Godzilla fight once, which is kind of more of King Kong just being a pussy, runs off. And then after that, the Japanese, after a quick, tribute to the 1933 King Kong, abducting, one of the characters' wives and climbing atop the Japanese dive building, they finally capture him again, and then drop him right in Godzilla's path so they could finally duke it out. Because while all this King Kong stuff is going on, Godzilla's rampaging across the countryside, no one could stop him. And then King Kong and Godzilla finally fight atop Mount Fuji, and the fight ends. People have debated this for years. People say King Kong won, Godzilla won. In the American version, I guess there's a subtle difference where you don't hear Godzilla's roar at all in the end of the movie. So you just see King Kong come up, King Kong swims away, and they don't know where Godzilla went. Whereas in Japanese version, you hear King Kong and Godzilla's roar at the end of the movie when they hit the water, which I've read is basically kind of just like a tribute, like the actors taking a bow at the end of production. That was the only point of having King Kong Godzilla roar at the end of the movie. Tipping the hat towards the audience. So let's dig down into what I think the main things to focus on for me in this movie, other than the satirical comedy, were just the way the monster action was portrayed and the style of the story, because it's similar to what came after it, different what came before it, and it's one of those movies where I watch it at some points and I like it, other times it's like and then other times I watch it and I'm like, oh, this is actually pretty good. I guess let's go to the monster looks. Only two monsters to cover, so let's be simple here. Godzilla to me looks great. The only thing I don't like about the suit is the baggy looking arms at times. However, as a whole, this Godzilla suit looks fantastic. It went through a lot of changes from the 1954, 1955 version of Godzilla. He's lost the mammal-like ears. The eyes have definitely changed. They're a little bit bigger, but not exactly friendly just yet. The suit definitely changed a whole lot as far as the feet and leg design goes. It looks thicker, but also slimmer than 1954 suit. The spines also changed quite a bit, and the tail lengthened. And of course the neck also got longer and thicker. And Godzilla has, I won't say a beak-looking snout, but it definitely has a certain look to it that we would see again captured in the 2000 Godzilla suit. Anybody knows this Godzilla suit in particular inspired Godzilla 2000 look, although Godzilla 2000 re-add the ears. Yeah, so this Godzilla, he looks great to me, and yeah, I like every moment Godzilla to me. I thought was pretty good in this movie. I love his entrance out of the iceberg. That was awesome. His attack on the little Russian base. That was awesome too. It was great. Godzilla had some great moments, and Godzilla's theme sounds awesome. And then the polar opposite of that, I mean, some people just look at King Kong in this movie, and right off the bat, it's why you can't watch it. King Kong, admittedly, does look like complete shit. And I mean, this isn't just like man in a suit bad. I just mean the face of King Kong was so badly done. It's just hard to even look at it to this day. It's just I'm not sure why this happened. I mean, to me, it doesn't even look ape-like. It looks more like a baboon or some shit. Of course, without the tail, and then King Kong has those weird floppy arms because they wanted to give it a lot more ape-like look, but it didn't really work. You know, this was not Toho at their best at monster designing. Honestly, just King Kong did just. And it's funny too because I owned the movie when I first owned it. I had the VHS tape that came out, I guess, sometime in the 90s. And the funny thing is, they have Godzilla from 1985, well, specifically Return of Godzilla, and they had King Kong from the, I believe, 70s movie, the 70s remake with Jeff Bridges. And from that case, you see, oh my god, and then they had them fighting in the city at the bottom. I was like, what? And then I finally watched it, I was like, oh, that was not what was advertised on the VHS, and what the hell? It was them fighting in Mount Fuji, but that goes without saying. Most monster fights did not take place in the city until much later. Destruction scenes, yes. Monster fights, no. Because otherwise, again, did it, but like I said before, it would not be done again until freaking Godzilla vs. Hedorah, and that was still a brief fight in the city. For the Showa era preferred fights for some reason out in the countryside. Why that is, I'm not entirely sure, because they didn't mind filming destruction scenes. There's always a monster wrecking a city. So, with that said, we now know my opinion on that. Godzilla looks great. King Kong looked really shitty. Red fur and all. Floppy arms and all. And the monster action, it's kind of balanced, but also kind of not, in a way. Because Godzilla appears, and it's great. It's freaking great. He looks awesome. His rampage scenes are fun, but the problem is Godzilla never gets to a city in this movie. He's always rampaging in the countryside. The most we get is a brief attack on a military base and attack at a train. Both great scenes. Just the problem was, what the hell? You kind of wanted Godzilla to attack a city. I mean, that would have been great seeing this version of Godzilla in a city. It would have been awesome. But instead, King Kong arrives, and King Kong is the one who gets a very brief, I must add, rampage in Tokyo, which to me, I don't know, kind of cheated the audience out of that. I really wanted to see them duke it out in Tokyo, or at least Godzilla attack some kind of city, like I said, but King Kong got the rampage, and yeah, I didn't care for that, honestly. One of my favorite monster rampages. The fight at Mount Fuji, to me, is really good. In a lot of ways, it's fun monster battle. Of course, in a modern cinema, I think we have to be a lot more animalistic, more realistic looking. But for the '60s, I think it's a passable fight, And I love Godzilla was just basically kicking King Kong's ass for the whole duration of the fight. I think King Kong, has a Deus Ex Machina of lightning, and then he starts fighting evenly with Godzilla.